After the critical success of 2014's Divinity Original Sins and 2017's Divinity Original Sins 2, fans of the Baldur's Gate series had extremely high expectations when Larian Studios announced that they would be tackling Baldur's Gate 3 as their next behemoth project. Well, after beating the game and having clocked in over 200 hours of the game since release, I can confidently say the game does not disappoint. In fact, it may have set the bar for CRPG quality so high that we may find future CRPGs from other developers wanting for years to come. It all begins with pristine presentation and graphics. The game looks downright gorgeous. The attention to detail in every location is astounding. From the character models to set pieces and backgrounds, no expense was spared. The ability and spell animations are also extremely varied and dazzling to behold. The use of in-game graphic cinematics brings the story to life, and the zoomed-in view utilized for the majority of conversations helps bring characters and personalities to life. Speaking of bringing the game to life, both the music and voice acting in the game is top-notch. Did I mention that every single NPC, including animal, is fully voice acted? And I did not find a single instance of what I would consider poor voice acting. The story is deep and full of ethical choices that leave a lasting impact on the world. There are story twists throughout, and you are left to make decisions about the fate of not only major NPCs, but also your companions. From what I can tell, nobody has permanent plot armor, and your decisions throughout the story have a major impact on how things unfold across the numerous story acts. There are branching and mutually exclusive ways of proceeding through different quests and storylines. On more than one occasion, I had moments when I was shocked that I could make a choice that a lesser game would not allow. I then could not resist but to reload in order to see if the alternative was a viable option, only to find out that it not only was, but also led me toward a completely different resolution of the quest line. I won't spoil anything here, but you can most definitely play this game a variety of different ways, and it is not always a cut and dry good versus evil option. Oh, did I mention evil options? I can 100% confirm that as a contrast to my first overall good alignment playthrough, you can also play the game in its entirety, playing on a sliding scale of evil, from being a jerk all the way to role-playing a complete sociopath. Gameplay-wise, you begin by either creating a custom character, playing as one of 6 origin characters representing the 6 initial companion options, or customizing the mysterious Dark Urge origin. If you choose a custom character, you begin by choosing from one of 11 races, as well as additional sub-races, covering everything from humans to elves and dwarves, all the way to more exotic races like the devilishly awesome tieflings or majestic dragonborn. You then pick and customize one of 12 classes that each have 3 subclasses for a total of 36 base classes. Did I mention that you can multi-class as well? If this all sounds overwhelming, don't fret. Each of the 6 companions related origin characters, ranging from the roguish historian to the fiery and barbaric Karlach, are good to go from the start and are set up well enough where you can pick up and go with them without making any alterations. The game even has an explorer difficulty that makes the combat extremely approachable for beginners or for those looking to simply enjoy the amazing story. Speaking of gameplay and difficulty, Larian has utilized the years the game spent in early access to greatly improve the pacing of the combat. However, this is still a turn-based game where you're controlling 4 characters or more, facing off against enemies where you are often outnumbered 2 or 3 to 1. On the moderate and high difficulty levels especially, the battles can be quite lengthy. The AI can also be quite ruthless. While exploring the world, I definitely recommend saving often and preparing to become best friends with the quick save and quick load features. You never know when you may stumble into an encounter that you were not ready for. With all the options inside of combat and out, a lot of strain is put on the user interface, and the results are mixed, but leaning much more towards the positive. There are so many abilities and spells in a game that the user interface gets extremely cluttered, and those new to games like this may be confused by the many tabs of features each character gains as they level. For example, I did not know that my paladin had to go under a passive tab to select and activate a protection aura that once enabled was permanent. Why was this not on by default? I have no idea, but I ran around for hours without having the feature enabled. Also, some class features and feats seem to either be bugged or broken, but I am sure that they will be fixed with patches. With the insane amount of spells, abilities, and passive features included in this game, I am shocked that more is not broken. However, things are not all so bad. While you are still likely to have a cluttered inventory over time, I greatly appreciate that all characters start with an alchemy pouch, camp supply pack, and keychain that auto-sorted all the relevant items to their correct bags. The related alchemy system is also well organized and for the most part automated. You can beat the game while completely ignoring the system. However, it is a very easy way to create everything from healing potions to poisons for your weapons or long-lasting buffs for your characters, among many other things. It is good that the UI does an admirable job of managing your inventory because this game world is absolutely huge and dense. With each map being full of secrets and loot to gather, you'll most definitely not see everything in one playthrough, and the world itself is a pack rat's worst nightmare. There's so much to pick up and interact with that I often suffered from overanalysis paralysis as I entered each new area and had my senses overwhelmed as I tried to figure out where I was going to go first. Oh, did I mention that you can experience this all in a seamless drop-in, drop-out co-op multiplayer of up to 4 players? Overall, this system works admirably well, although I would not recommend it for a first playthrough, as each person is free to go off on their own, meaning that you could be missing out on major story elements or even entire combat encounters that your friends chose to initiate while you were cleaning out your bags at a vendor. All of this complexity makes the fact that I had no performance issues at all more amazing. I played a game on a max settings on a 49-inch widescreen display and had 0 crashes or performance issues. I was running on an NVIDIA 4090, but considering the complexity and size of some of the encounters, I was shocked that I did not suffer a single crash or major bug. Now I left discussing the companions for last, but before I talk about the quality of companions, I want to give Larian Studios the biggest compliment I can by stating that their overall greatest achievement with Baldur's Gate 3 for me is their ability to keep me completely enthralled with the game all the way through until after the credits had rolled. Although I spent dozens of hours on Divinity Original Sins, I never beat it. I did beat the sequel, but for portions of the endgame, I had to drag myself through to that game's finish. Baldur's Gate 3 has no such issues. I spent many nights up until 3 or 4 in the morning playing, and I could not wait to start up once more the next day. If this game hooks you, it is unlikely to let go. And finally, we come to discussing the 6 companions in the game: Astarion, Lyzel, Gale, Shadowheart, Will, and Karlach. They were the main reason I was so invested in Baldur's Gate 3. Their quality and depth is light years beyond Larian's previous titles. From their visual design to voice acting quality, everything is top notch. On top of this, each one of the 6 origin-based companions has a deep story. All the stories that I have brought to a conclusion personally have also had multiple ways that they could end, leading to each character being permanently changed in one way or another. In addition to the 6 main companions, there are others that you can access and control. They are all great. Their stories are not as deep, and some of them you cannot access until much later in the game. Saying more would enter spoiler territory. No matter who you bring along, you're sure to experience an amazing story. Well, except for maybe Lyzel. Let's be honest, does anybody really like Lae'zel? Girl needs to learn to line up a bit. Now, you cannot talk about the companions without mentioning the maturity level of this game. This game is violent, it can be vulgar, but not in ways that I found weren't appropriate for the situations, but also there is lots and lots of potential nudity in this game. There are, of course, intimate scenes that can be viewed. There is an option in the game where you can turn off nudity if you wish, but otherwise, if it's on, you could quite literally strip down all your characters and have them run around the whole game naked completely, including full frontal nudity for both sexes. So if you're sensitive to that, or if you're considering having a young child play this, this may not be the game for them. That is for certain. But otherwise, this game is really meant for a more mature audience, and for that, I do believe that pretty much the violence, the potential vulgarity, and the nudity is appropriate, as would be in watching a show like Game of Thrones. Overall, Baldur's Gate 3 is a crowning achievement of what can be done with a gaming license when put into the hands of a developer that truly loves an IP and is willing to stop at nothing on their way to creating the best game possible. It is a shame that many developers do not have the talent and or creative freedom that is afforded to Larian Studios. If there's only one CRPG you play this year, nay, this decade, I would say make sure it is Baldur's Gate 3. You may not find a game topping its quality for years to come. My pick for Game of the Year so far, bar none. If you enjoyed this review, then drop a like and let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments below. If you want to see more content from me, make sure to subscribe. Thank you for your support, and I will see you in the next video.